guys, it's Terry. So good to see you. Happy energy reading. How's your heart today? How is your heart? We have a weekend energy reading today. I do have cards ready for us to choose in a bit so we can see what implementation tools we can use to navigate our way through this human experience this weekend. And of course, this is a collective reading, which means some of this information may resonate with you, some may not. So just take what does, toss what doesn't. And if you would like a more personal, more private reading, you can book that one-on-one directly through my site, terryhuberman.com. Or if you are watching this on Instagram, you can just simply click the book button in my profile and you'll be able to book yourself a private one-on-one reading right there. So when I was looking into this weekend, just energetically, I had the image of shackles that came up for me. So maybe for someone specific, shackles might mean something, but to me, it felt like it was about restriction and constriction. And when I dove deeper into that, I started to feel what felt like were conditions. Now, humans have conditions on their own, and then they're also conditioned by society and family, right? So what I was feeling into this weekend was that we might bump into conditions and run into conditions this weekend for ourselves, which would make it a slightly uncomfortable weekend for us. Now, what that could entail is, and it feels like it's on a very personal level. This doesn't feel like it's on a collective level. Even though worldwide, collectively, we are still in this pandemic. And in the US, we're dealing with a lot of racism and other isms as well. This is about your own unique conditions with yourself and how you fit into this world. Okay, so it will be you will bump into experiences where you're finding that you are creating your own limitations with yourself, and it doesn't feel good. You feel stuck, yes, but also it kind of makes these issues just come straight up, right up to your face. So this weekend, issues like shame and guilt will be brought up. Also just in terms of, now I'm getting the word dimensions, but I don't want to talk about it in dimensions in terms of like different realities. It's showing up to me as like a box, and how we box ourselves into certain areas, and how these conditions keep us in these boxes, right? So the more we explore the conditions that we're going to be running into this weekend, the more we'll be able to pop open the box and step out of the box. So the word unconditional means without conditions, right? Without restrictions. Let's say freedom, right? So this weekend it may feel a bit challenging for us to have that sense of freedom that we are so craving and so desiring, okay? So if you're finding yourself restricted, constricted, not having the freedom, having to rely upon or even depend upon other people, and we're feeling stuck, we're feeling compressed. Again, I keep getting like these boxes, where we're stuck in a box. It's going to give us an opportunity to sort of explore, what are we conditional with ourselves for, in, and with, right? What criteria and expectations are we putting on ourselves that are limiting us towards reaching our goals, towards reaching that sense of freedom? And of course, in human life, it shows up in physical matter of things like money, a relationship. So, relating to another human, in getting things that we want, right? So that's how we have a tendency to just kind of view things as being successful, or as being us reaching a certain level, is in a physical form. So if you're finding that you're not getting the cash and prizes, and there's nothing wrong, by the way, with wanting cash and prizes, we live in a physical world. So to want materialism and to want things and to want money, no shame, y'all, no shame in that. The challenge comes is when we are gauging our lives and how we're doing and what conditions we have with ourselves based on whether we've received those cash and prizes or not. So this weekend, we're going to have a lot of opportunity. We will bump up. We will have that discomfort of, how am I being conditional with myself? What criteria and expectation am I putting on myself that may be unreasonable and is keeping me from getting those cash and prizes, from getting that relationship, right? From feeling that sense of freedom. So there is a sense of self-responsibility this weekend and self-accountability, which will mean it's not going to be a comfortable weekend. So the more I feel into how this weekend is going to be, it's going to feel more like a heads up buttercup kind of weekend. All right. Let me pull some cards for us here so we can see, well, like what areas or what's going on, what implementation tools we can use just to kind of like navigate our way through what's going on this weekend. So, just the thing that's definitely coming across, obviously, is the conditions. But one of the ways we can learn to be more unconditional with ourselves is to be more accepting of ourselves and to stop beating ourselves up for any past choices or decisions that we've made. Lot easier to say than do. That's actually one of the things that I am actually working on right now myself, is just being more kinder, more compassionate to myself. I mean, everything that I've done, all the conditions that I've put on myself up until now have created me, who I am here reading for you today. So, am I a horrible, terrible person? Not necessarily. Not necessarily, but a lot of my choices have led me to where I am right now, right? So yeah, that's a little thing right there. Just be this weekend, through learning about how we're conditional with ourselves, we'll also learn how we can become more unconditional with ourselves. So I've got my 4 cards here. Let's do a reveal. Here we go. We have the Jack of Diamonds. We have El Nopal. We have a meditation. And we have call. Beautiful. Call, meditation, Jack of Diamonds, and El Nopal. And this is really looking so beautifully matched with this weekend. So this weekend, we're going to find ourselves in very prickly moments, and that's okay. We need to have these inner conversations with ourselves to get to that shadow, dark passenger side of ourselves that we don't oftentimes let come out and play, because we're so afraid we might lose control and we might just kind of do a deep dive into that dark world and not come out again. So if you are gauging yourself by the cash and prizes, it is a little bit more of an immature mindset only in terms of spirituality. And it's not bad. So there's no judgment on that. I don't want you to think that you're bad or anything like that, because it's an evolution and it's a process. And I will tell you, I love money. I love money. I love the feel of it. I love budgeting it. I love managing it. I love spending it. I love receiving it. I love money. There's no shame in that. But to have an immature sense or awareness of it as if there is some sort of connection to your worthiness with money, that is where you might want to do some work this weekend on your conditions about money. If, again, you're gauging your life by the cash and prizes. Because you will be called, and we will be bumping into what are those conditions, right? So that prickliness of the weekend will be there, and we'll have an opportunity to work through how we're gauging ourselves based on our conditions. Now, this is going to be, what's interesting is we're going to end up in situations that right now, if you're watching this right now, and these are timeless readings. So even if you're not watching this reading this weekend, but you're watching it 3 months from now, you'll notice that this message will also still resonate with you at that time. So you will be put into situations, whether you're aware of it or not, you will be drawn, you'll be called into situations where these conditions will be brought up right to your face, right? So one of the ways you can kind of help further this in terms of doing your work on it, getting into that shadow aspect side of it, is through meditation. And what meditation does is it just calms the chatter in your mind so that you can ask yourself 2 questions. 1, what are my conditions? Show me my conditions. I need to know so that I can work through it. And the second question is, what is just the next step that I can do to heal that condition so that I can become unconditional? When we are unconditional, everyone around us will become unconditional too, because we're just a bunch of these energy magnet balls, right? So when we take a look at ourselves and we do our work in ourselves, our broadcast signal emits the same thing. We're a mirror. It's a reflection of who we are inside, reflects to us what the outside is going to be like. So if you're finding yourself being in very conditional situations, this is a really great weekend for you to just kind of sit and stop that chatter, however you do it, because people meditate differently all the time. But find out, what are your conditions and what is the next step that you can take, and only the next step. You don't have to worry about healing your entire condition. Just what is the next step that you can take that will help you start to heal these conditions so that you start living in an unconditional world, right? We are energy. This is all about energy. So the more you do a deep dive into that part of yourself that you don't want to, yikes, you will find that your life will become more unconditional as you become more unconditional with yourself. All right, guys, what am I always saying? Stay connected. Stay connected to your family and friends. Stay connected to me. Stay connected to yourself, of course. And, even though this weekend might be a bit challenging, it's okay. You're going to be just fine. And if you want to become part of a community where you're not alone and you can learn how to really trust your intuition and get yourself out of indecision, I've created a community on Patreon. As a matter of fact, the information will be either, no matter how or where you're watching this, I'll make sure that the information is somewhere in here, and definitely on Instagram in my profile. And it is a community-based experience where like-minded people come together. There's exclusive content just for Patreon. There are group readings. There's group interactive sessions just for Patreon. So if you want to be part of this community where you can get out of indecision and into your intuition, shift your energy, and really start creating this unconditional life of yours, go ahead and join my Patreon. All right, guys? And I'll see ya on the flip side.